With the finals releasing hopefully before the end of this year, I know a lot of us are left with the question, is this game actually going to be good? Is it actually going to last? Or is it just another flavor of the month FPS that'll die off in a couple of months? We'll get into that and much more in this video. I'll also be giving you guys my thoughts on what I liked, didn't like, and what I would personally like to see put into the game in the future. I'm sure most of you watching this video know what the finals is or have seen gameplay of it, but for those of you who don't, the finals is a new FPS game developed by Embark Studios, which are a bunch of ex-DICE developers who worked on Battlefield, and you can definitely see that translate to this game. It has Battlefield elements to it with the really big map and everything's destructible, but it's also got some Overwatch elements to it where it's a class-based shooter with tons and tons of different abilities that you can customize. Each class gets different guns and abilities. There's a light class, a medium class, and a heavy class. So in terms of other video games, you know, your light would be your DPS, your medium would be more of a support role, and the heavy class would be like your tank. It also kind of reminds me of Apex a little bit with the movement. It's really fast paced. Definitely not as smooth as Apex, but it's the only other game I've played recently that can stay up to speed with Apex. Basically, it just feels like they took 3 games that I really enjoyed and just mashed it all together to give us this pretty fresh and new take on an FPS game. I know the first beta, I didn't care about this game at all. Second beta, I still didn't really care. You know, I thought it was just another generic shooter. It's gonna be dead and gone within a few months of its release time. It just didn't really interest me at all. Until one night I got bored and I just randomly decided to download it and try it by myself. And I am so glad that I did because this game was so much fun. It isn't that hard to get into. And that's one thing that I really loved about this game is that it is just so simple to actually learn how to play. Yeah, there's a lot of different classes and abilities, but to get a general understanding of the game, it's fairly easy to do, especially if you come from other class-based FPS games like Overwatch and Apex, which are 2 of my most played games. So that's the first thing that I like, and something that I think that they really did well. It's going to make this game really easy for newer players to get into. The second thing, and it's something I kind of touched on a little bit earlier, and that's the movement. The movement is really fast-paced. You can slide around everywhere. Jumping feels good. There are different movement abilities. You have a grapple hook. You can teleport, like almost like a tracer blink. There's jump pads. Just so much cool stuff that you can do. It's better than most games nowadays where you're pretty much limited to like a slide cancel or jumping. I mean, in Apex you have jump pads, but there's just so much more to do in this game. I will say some of this stuff does feel a little bit clunky still, but that doesn't take away from the fun factor at all. Like there are times when I play this game and like my whole team is running jump pads and it just feels like you're in a bouncy house and there's not really a penalty for accuracy while you're in the air. So you can just repeatedly take these jump pads and still one-clip people out of the air. Just so many different movement things that you can do in this game make it so much fun, and that also raises the skill ceiling as well. I love movement in first-person shooter games. I know I'm a little bit biased, but I think this game does it really well. The next thing that I really liked is the ranked mode. Now, the way that ranked works in this game is a little bit different than most games. It's a tournament-based format, so it starts off with 4 different brackets of teams, and it's a 3v3, v3, v3, and each of the top 2 teams from those brackets qualify to go to the next round, and then the top 2 teams from that one then qualify to go on to the final match, where it's just a straight up 3v3. Definitely an interesting take on a ranked mode. I think it works pretty well for this game. I haven't gotten this competitive in a game since probably when I played competitive in Fortnite, like way back in the day. I played other competitive games. I played CS, I played Overwatch, Halo, PUBG, like literally anything that you could think of, but nothing felt as competitive to me as the finals. I don't know. I just think it's a cool take on it. It makes it a lot more interesting than a normal ranked mode. They could maybe increase the amount of rank you get because the games do take really long when you make it to the finals, and sometimes it just doesn't feel like you get enough points for it. It doesn't feel like you're rewarded properly, but other than that, it was a blast to play. Next thing I really enjoyed is just the amount of customization that there was in the game. Each class had different guns, different abilities that are unique to that class. You could run tons of different loadouts and never get bored. There's going to be so many different combinations to test to find out the meta, if there even is going to be a meta, because a lot of the stuff felt pretty viable, and we'd end up switching a lot of the stuff in our classes just based on what the rest of the team was running to kind of build a complete team around that. That's probably another thing that made this game feel so competitive too, is that it's just a big team building aspect. I like how there was at least a couple of guns that you could use on each class. You weren't forced to use one specific gun. On light, I really enjoyed the pistol, and medium, I really enjoyed the AK. I felt like I got the most value out of those two, but I didn't feel limited to just those. Like I could use the SMG, I could use the sniper and still have fun. And medium, I could use the SCAR and still get kills. Like as far as weapons go, like those felt pretty balanced, other than heavy, but we'll touch on that later. Also, the cosmetics in this game, there are so many. There are camos for every single item in the game. You can put stickers and charms on every single thing in your class. Like you could put a sticker on your grenade, on your jump pad, on your gun. You can customize customize everything in this game. That'll probably open up a lot of opportunities for them in microtransactions, and hopefully they do it right. Hopefully everything's not too expensive. I don't want it to be like Apex where I'm paying $20 for every single skin. But yeah, the customization in this game, really good. Like, you can make everything look exactly how you want it. And I'm sure there will be even more stuff down the line when they start adding things in, like from season to season. It's only going to get better from here. Just a couple more things that I really liked. The game ran pretty well. Even with the big map and destructible environment, I was still getting pretty good FPS. I was holding like 200 plus consistently with a 3080 Ti. And I know to some people, like, that might not sound too crazy, but I also stream and record at the same time. So when I get 200 FPS in a big map with a lot of stuff going on, that's really good. I can't get that in Call of Duty. I can hold Apex pretty much 240 steady streaming and recording, as long as I'm not in like a really big POI or there's not a lot of people around. So performance was pretty good. And I heard it ran well for a lot of other people as well, even with lower end PCs. And the last thing that I like is that the game is just bright and colorful. It makes it so much more enjoyable to play and look at everything. There's a reason why Overwatch and Fortnite are two of my favorite games. I just really enjoy that colorful look. We all know Apex and COD aren't the most colorful games, and that's why I've made tons and tons of videos on how to make them look good, because they just look so dull and boring by default. So having these bright and vibrant colors in the finals is a huge plus for me. Just real quick, I need to share something with you guys. For the rest of the Black Friday week, Skypad is having a sale on all of their mouse pads. You can get up to 60% off, which is an absolute steal for one of these mouse pads. Skypad makes the fastest, most consistent, and highest quality glass mouse pads that I've ever tried. And not only do you save money with their Black Friday sale, you can also use code COMPLIES for even more money off. So it helps you guys save a little bit, and it also helps me out too. If you guys are interested in that, the link is in the description below. It is just such a good deal. That's it for that. Now back to the video. But enough of what I liked about the game. Now let's get into what I didn't like. And honestly, there weren't a ton of things that I really disliked about the game, other than like a couple of glaring issues that most people had a problem with. But the first one, and this one might be more of a personal issue, so I want to touch on that first, and that's that this game has forced anti-aliasing and upscaling. As of the second beta, there's no way to run the game in an actual native resolution with no anti-aliasing. You're either forced to use temporal anti-aliasing, which makes the game just look like a blurry mess, or you're forced to use something like FSR or DLSS, which while you do get slightly higher frames with that, the image is so blurry, especially with motion, it gets very blurry. I just wish there was an option to run the game at native res without anti-aliasing so that it'll be much more clear. Like, sure, I might lose a couple of FPS, but that trade-off that you get with visual clarity is so worth it. I hate having to put on a ton of sharpening in my game just so I can see what's going on. Next thing, and it's probably the biggest complaint that I've heard from everybody who's tried the game, is just how broken the heavy class was. It had so much health and abilities that basically one-shot you. It just felt kind of cheesy to play against. You're just getting RPG spammed over and over again. The building's collapsing on you. You can't move. You're 1 HP. It was just really annoying to deal with. Even dumping a full AK mag into them still wouldn't kill them. So hopefully that class gets tuned down a little bit in the future. Maybe slightly less health, slightly less damage on their abilities. Medium class overall felt pretty balanced to me. When you have two of them on a team and they're kind of double pocketing the healing, it can get kind of annoying sometimes, but I can't lie, I did that myself. I still don't think that's nearly as broken as the heavy class. I don't think it's as broken as the light class stun either. That's another ability that just felt cheesy and frustrating to play against, because once you get hit with that stun, you just can't move. You're stuck in place. You can't turn left or right. You basically just sit there and die. Another thing, like I said earlier, movement still felt a little bit clunky. The sliding still feels a little bit weird. Jumping and shooting feels weird. Your weapon sways everywhere side to side, which might be an intended mechanic, but I think it's definitely a little too exaggerated now. The movement zipline feels a little bit clunky too, but this is coming from someone who's played a lot of Apex, but that's a lot of time in a game with very polished movement mechanics, so I am pretty biased. I don't think the movement in the finals is terrible by any means at all. I love how fast paced everything is, but there are times where it felt a little bit off. I can't really put my finger on what it is. Maybe it's the animations, maybe it's because I don't know the timings, I don't know. And the last thing that I didn't really like about the game was how the ranked matchmaking works sometimes. The very first game we played, you know, it was bronze, it was easy. We stomped the lobby even without knowing what was going on with the game. But then there was a few games, you know, once we got into silver, we are literally playing against platinum and diamond players while we were in silver. I don't know why it's so common for games nowadays to just not make ranked matchmaking based on your rank. Like, silver players should fight other silver players, golds should fight golds, platinums should fight plats, and so on. It just makes ranked feel more rewarding to play when you're going against other people in your rank. I don't know about you guys, but I get pretty demotivated and burn out fast if I'm silver or gold and constantly going against people in the top rank. It makes me feel like, what's the point in climbing if I'm already playing people who are at that rank? I would just be playing for a visual icon at that point, and it's just not fun to me. Let me know how you guys feel about that down in the comments. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. But that's about it for things that I didn't like about this game. I did genuinely have a great time on this game. But now to wrap the video up, what would I like to see them implement in the future? First, and I know I've touched on this a few times already, but I want to see them refine the movement. Just make it feel a little bit smoother, make the transition transitions between things a little bit more seamless. You know, just polish it up a little bit. I think it's pretty good how it is now. I'd say it's like probably 75-80% of the way there. Next, I'd like to see them rebalance the classes a little bit more. Maybe tone down those cheesy weapons and abilities a little bit. Bring the heavy class down a bit to match the other ones, because as it is now, it is way too strong. And for ranked, maybe just tighten up the matchmaking disparity between players so that if I'm in gold, I don't fight diamonds. Maybe I'll fight some plats, but also don't let me fight bronze players because that's just not fair. Just match people based on the rank that they're in. I'd also like to maybe see them implement placement matches, because starting out in bronze and playing against actual bronze players, like that was just way too easy. It wasn't fair for them. Like maybe do a system with 5 placement matches, like how a lot of games do it nowadays, to more accurately gauge where you should be at. That would help for this game a ton, because starting out at the bottom is not only demotivating because it's such a long grind, it's also just not fair for the players who are actually stuck in that first rank. Something that I think would help this game tremendously is implementing in-game tournaments with small cash prizes. It doesn't have to be anything crazy at the beginning of the game, because I'm sure this company probably doesn't have a lot of money to blow, but even just incentivizing your players with small cash prizes or even cosmetic prizes that are only available to winners of the tournaments would go a very long way for this game. I feel like the way that the ranked mode is set up already is already like a little tournament. It's already very competitive, and I think that they should try to build off of that. Another thing, something I touched on earlier, is I would like to see some better optimization, specifically when it comes to anti-aliasing and upscaling methods. Please give us the option to run the game at a native resolution without anti-aliasing. Forcing these upscaling methods makes my game so blurry and I just cannot see anything. I have really bad eyes and these things only make it harder for me to see. And the last thing that I would like to see them do is to just maybe promote their game more. I saw a little bit here and there, but nothing near the amount that's needed to compete with these games nowadays. Yeah, I saw Shroud played a decent amount, but other than him, there wasn't really many big FPS streamers who played it. I didn't see much hype built around it. I kind of just had to take the chance on my own to see how the game was, and I'm glad I did because I really do like this game. But I just want them to build more hype around this game release because it is such a good game. You have to remember who they're fighting against here. You're going against huge games like Fortnite, Apex, Battlefield, Call of Duty, X-Defiant is releasing soon, Valorant, Overwatch. There are just so many huge games out right now that people are already hooked into, so it's going to take a lot for them to give up their main game and try this one out. So hopefully they realize that and they act on it. At its core, this game, I do really think it's something special. I haven't had that competitive spark on any game in a very, very long time, but this one did it for me. While it is still a little bit rough around the edges, it's going to take a good amount of balancing and refining on a bunch of other things in the game to really make it great. I don't know, I just think the core gameplay is there, and that's just so important for a game nowadays. Like the actual gameplay needs to be good. A lot of games come out now and they just try to smack some good cosmetics on there, build up a bunch of hype, only for the game to die a month or two later. I think this game could be different. If I had to give it a rating out of 10, I'd probably say it's about a 7.5 or 8 right now. But if they were to improve on some of the things that I talked about earlier, I think this game could easily be like an 8.5 or a 9. It has so much potential, but I'd really love to hear what you guys think. So please let me know down in the comments below whether you think this is a good game, if you guys played it, what your thoughts are on the game. I'm gonna wrap this video up now. If you guys did enjoy it, please remember to leave a like and a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. But that's it. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.